I've been fascinated with art and music my entire life. In my adult life, I've been blessed to have met so many immensely talented visual and musical artists. Many from here in my own backyard. Kansas City has an abundant wealth of talented creators of original art. Join me, William Saunders, on a journey to illuminate the hidden architecture of creativity, how artists see, feel, imagine, and realize their inner worlds by engaging in open, exploratory dialogue. By bridging the rational and the intuitive, we aim to inspire fellow creators and curious audiences to appreciate the deeper forces behind visual and musical expression.
Inside the Creative Mind with your host, William Saunders.
Okay. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Creative Mind. Today I'm joined by a good friend and an incredible musician, Chris Bruders.
Hello.
And Chris, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being on the show. When I first was contemplating this, I made a kind of a short list of cats that I really wanted to reach out to and ensure that I got them in this first season. And of course, you're one of them. And so people know Chris is also one half of, not to give away all the secrets of some of the videos I got coming up, but I do have my rankings of the top bands I've seen in Kansas City. And not to give it away completely, but let's just say that Freight Train Rabbit Killer is pretty high up on that list.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites too. I'm a huge fan of the band, so
yeah, as well you should be.
Yeah.
And I just want to take a moment to go back to a moment that when I knew how special that band was. You were playing Coda, and you called up there was a band that played before you guys. It was like had nothing, no similar style or anything. They were just more of a almost like a punkish, almost sound. I can't remember the name of the band, but anyway, they got off stage and we got you guys set up, and their drum set was still there, and you called the guy up to join you, and he, the songs weren't, so over complex that he wasn't able to participate. And so when he joined in, it was such a magical night. And I kept looking around the room and thinking to myself, I just so sorry for anybody that's not here witnessing this, because it's just, and I know you do this every time you guys play, you're always, it's never the same show. It's kind of always, you bring people up and stuff like that. But just in that moment, I just remember reflecting on how special I thought that I realized you guys really are. And that, it was like, if there was anything I could do to, from a national perspective, to just, raise the flag and say, everybody, you really need to, check this out. And, still to this day, some tracks, still are on my playlist that, from that era that kind of pop up in my feed a lot. Brother Judas is just
can't go wrong with it.
just a super well done song. So
yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, give everybody like a little bit of your background.
Let's see. My background, I started playing music a little late in life. I started probably around 21. I'd been in some bands before, like some party bands, and did some singing, but I didn't really play any music. I've always had melodies and things that I would try to convey to the guitar player, via scatting and things like that. And, it was very difficult. So I thought, I need to just learn how to play the guitar. And at the time I was going through a really hard time. I was trying to get out of, partying and a lot of, just stuff that wasn't good for me. And I basically, found the guitar and music to be my muse to, clean up and listen to my surroundings more and and it changed my life. Music did, you know. I met my wife right around the same time. She's a musician as well, Havala. She's a vocalist, and I didn't even play music when we first met. So we didn't really know that we would work well together, because that was never, the intention as far as music goes. So it just kind of ended up working out. And of course, she's a vocal coach, so she's been training me, by ever since. Not necessarily on purpose with like lessons, but she gives voice lessons quite often and is a vocal coach. So I've been, I've grown musically, vocally, listening to her exercises and teaching all kinds of people here at our house. So it's really helped me out. So that's kind of a background of music. I'm in a bunch of different bands. Gas Can, which is a punk band here in Kansas City. We got Copper Threading, which is a folk trio harmony. It's with my Havala, my wife, and her sister Kenise. And then we got a family band. We're going to be putting a record out here. I've got a solo record or some solo stuff out on Spotify and Amazon and stuff. So I try to stay busy.
That's one of the notes I had. Was I was going to ask you, exactly how many bands.
Yeah.
You how many have you played in? So are those all the ones you've done? I mean, is it just since those ones you named? Since
No,
we did some earlier ones.
We had some earlier ones. We did, but we never really played much out. We were still hashing it out, trying to figure it out. We didn't have anybody, telling us or helping us what was right and what was wrong. So we were just kind of writing music and playing it at house parties out at the farmhouse, which is Mike Payne's farmhouse at the time, out kind of by Pleasant Hill. And actually, I met him at a party there, and there was there was a bunch of people there. There were several musicians there. One of them being Jordan from Supernuts. You remember Jordan, the bass player?
I don't, but I bet if I saw him, I probably would.
Yeah, he was there, and he played guitar, and I played bass, which I don't play bass. He doesn't play guitar. And Mike was there playing the drums. And, sometimes you meet people that just work really well with you rhythmically.
Yeah.
And you don't have to tell them anything. They're already reading what you're feeling naturally, and Mike Payne was like that with me. And same with Mark Smeltzer. And really same with Havala, my wife. So I've gotten really lucky to meet people who really work well with me, which I think is a really important thing to pay attention for.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly. How about childhood? Was there a lot of music, in the home when you were a kid? And is that something that you've kind of built on and brought some of that forward into your?
Not really. There wasn't a lot of music. My grandfather was a truck driver, and he used to pick me up when I was like 4, and he would take me on these long trips, and we would listen to music the whole time, and it would be all like outlaw country, Johnny Cash,
Right.
Waylon Jennings, all that stuff, Willie Nelson.
George Jones.
Absolutely, all of the things, and so I did get a love of music, particularly from that experience. But the family really, nobody really played music or did anything. And honestly, I think, music came to me out of, or the importance of music came to me because, when I was about 10, my parents divorced, and my grandfather died, who played a really big, important role in my life. And my life at that point had completely changed. And everything that I understood as a family unit was not what they taught me. They were all fighting each other, and no one talked to each other, and everything completely changed, Well, I ended up finding music, as, something, something that was able to fill a void and heal me. Because I was going and struggling through a lot. I was basically alone at that point. And, I confided in music to learn life lessons, and I confided in music for comfort, and I confided in music for, just everything. So music just became part of my survival instinct, almost how to battle through trauma, and I needed a good song that made me feel, strength, because I didn't have any strength. I was, at times. And so, yeah, music, it wasn't a big part of my family, but it was a big part of my life. Yeah.
Sure. I can relate to a lot of that, man. And yeah, it's incredible how a song can be a blanket. It can be the helping hand to get up off the floor. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It can reach down and pick you up and pull you right out of wherever you're at and change absolutely everything around you. One song.
Absolutely.
And I love that. And it was profound for me, music was. And once I started doing it and realized, I wrote a song. This was one of my first experiences that I felt like I really was doing what I needed to do, and I was at a coffee shop, and it was a great space. It was non-judgmental. It was very open to creative talk, and there was a lot of really great people that was going there. Ruth Ward was going there at the time, and she taught me a lot. Actually, I took some lessons from her. And but I wrote a song. Of course, I was terrified to sing it, and then I get done, and there's multiple people coming up to me, crying and emotional, and it had touched them, and it would help them heal, this memory that came up to them. And I thought that was just absolutely profound, that, the thing that was happening to me was happening to someone else from something that I wrote. Not even that I really understood the song even at that time, and so then ever since then, it's just, I feel a need to give back, and that, I don't know, music is a powerful thing, and people need a lot of healing these days.
I realized at some point that, because of the reaction like you're describing, that sometimes a song I've written may not have been for me. Because there's other people getting more from it than what my emotional connection to it maybe not as great as it might be with certain other songs, but for somebody, there's gravity with that, and that they relate to it. That, like you said, you can put them in tears, and they're like, oh, "Thank you for I just said everything I needed to say," and I'm like, "Oh, wow,
that's profound." I mean, wow. I'm like, "What?" Yeah, like, what did I do? I didn't do that, but there's something there, and what is that? Why, why is it that music opens us up that way? It's something that I've, with all of my bands, is at the forefront of everything, and in writing and live music and live shows. I mean, it's very powerful connectivity that you don't get through anything else, a phone or a TV or anything, or music it's a special thing.
Yeah.
I'm humbled every day I get to wake up and play music. I just love it.
Yeah, I love that, man. Who would you say are your key influences?
Because my life was such a roller coaster ride, you know, there and ups and downs and all kinds of things happening to me. And, you know, of course you surround yourself with bad, you know, people who get you in trouble and, you know, uh, through all of this trauma, I think music, there was never one genre that really like spoke to me necessarily. It was dependent on, you know, what I was going through at the time. You know, what were my emotions at the time, you know, because sometimes you know, I was upset and I felt like I was, you know, dealt really horrible cards, you know. And you know, so punk rock was a thing that I really loved. I really loved the attitude of that. And how do you express something when you're so mad at someone, especially like a family member, or you're dealing with family trauma? How do you express it? I mean, most of the time they won't even let you talk or speak, you know. So punk rock really allowed me to figure out, oh, you know, I can get this anger out. I don't have to blow up at anybody. I can just express myself in this really wonderful, healthy way and cope with it myself, and then release it and let it go. And I don't have to deal with it no more, you know? And, so, you know, that was happening to me with even songs that I didn't write, songs that I was, you know, listening to. But same with blues. You know, blues captured me on a very, very deep level of like, you know, coping with generational traumas. And, you know, I can't relate to slavery, of course, and all of the things that they were going to, but inside my mind, you know, in my life that was in shambles, you know, I was coping with a lot of things. I was homeless at times. I was addicted to drugs. I was, I wasn't willing to help myself. And finding, you know, blues allowed me an outlet to express those deep, you know, emotions that I didn't know how to speak at all, you know. And it was singing that really helped me cope with a lot of that sadness inside of me, you know, and able to sing it. But also rock and roll and classical music. I love choral music. I mean, you know, I kind of go all over the map, which is probably why I have a bunch of bands that all do different stuff. And, you know, when I write music, I don't write necessarily for a band specifically. I'm always just writing. And then I figure out, okay, well, where's this song go? And if I don't have a band that it fits in and it's not fitting with my solo stuff, then I'll put it in the data bank over here, and then when I get enough songs that are like it, I'll start a new band with it, you know. And so yeah, just try to stay busy with it.
Is there a song you can think of that, for myself,
Mm-hmm.
it's rare that I hear a song and I go, oh damn, I wish I would have wrote that.
Mm.
Is there anything you can think of that where you've heard and you go, wow, I wish I would have wrote that song?
You know, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, not necessarily. I don't think. You know, because I mean, songwriting is much more of an emotional thing for me, where I don't, you know, oftentimes I don't really think about, you know, writing a good song necessarily or anything like that. I'm just trying to figure out how to internalize what I'm going through. So I don't know. I mean, there are songs that I really relate to, but I don't know if I've ever thought, I wish I wrote it.
Yeah, there's a, you know, before doing any kind of folk stuff, you know, I try to do more rockish stuff. And there's a,
Yeah.
I think it's called Gold Gun Girls from Metric.
Mm.
For whatever reason, that song hits me, like where I was like, man, the groove is so groovy. I wish I would have kind of came up with that groove.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Well, my list is very long then. If we're talking about grooves, writing groove. What was the name of that band again? I want to check that out.
Metric.
Metric. All right.
Gold Gun Girls. It's
Gold Gun Girl.
It's a
Nice.
classic.
Check it out.
So what, Chris, let me back up for a second here. The decision to launch into being a musician, not just dabble your foot and your toes in the water, but to actually just proceed forward, come hell or high water, and say, you know what, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to be damn good at it. When was that decision made for you, and kind of what went into it, and was it a hard one to make?
It was not a hard one to make. I didn't feel like I really had a choice, to be honest. And I was speaking about that time at the coffee shop, when I wrote that song and had this experience with people I didn't know, absolute strangers, and it's hard enough to cry in front of people you love, and let alone as a musician who's in a coffee shop. And, so I think that, it was definitely difficult because, it's not easy. The industry is really a wreck. It doesn't really work for you. Right. And so it was a hard decision in a sense that I don't make any money and, monetarily it's not an easy thing, but there are so many rewards that I have gotten over my life. Has been incredible. I've gotten to travel all over the world, I've gotten to play the most amazing shows and house parties and barbecues and dinners, and met the most amazing people who just inspire me. And I still talk to a lot of them today. They're still my friends, and growing up in a small town, especially in a family or a social network that tells you, how dangerous the world is outside, and then becoming a musician and seeing all of these things from kind of an emotional side, a musician is, it's an art, you're an artist. So, I think that, it wasn't necessarily a hard decision. It's been a little tough to handle, because it's always evolving and changing. And, but it's amazing, and I wouldn't change it for anything. And, I've gotten so much out of it. And I've also often reflect on, what is, of all the things I've done, what are like the most important things to me? And, to me, the most important thing was not playing in front of a bunch of people. It was the dinner afterwards. It was the breaking of bread with all of these people that I didn't know and that I relate to, that are from completely different cultures, and it just made me really understand that, we really are all in this together. You are not alone, and that was a very powerful, epiphany for me, and has always kept me going.
Dude, I love that. You had mentioned the industry. So what would you say the state of the music scene in Kansas City is in 2026?
Yeah, the music state in Kansas City is, in my book, it's booming. There is a ton of things happening.
Yes.
And there is a disconnect, I think, with a lot of local musicians and events and things, and trying to be accessible. I think social media is suppressing everybody's stuff just naturally due to corporate interests, and it's hard to get away from it. and there's no real good, clean way to figure out really what's going on. The Kansas City that I know, someone, an outsider can't come into town and find the shows that I go to. They're not online half the time. You can't find them, nor do people really care, because it doesn't really necessarily work. So everybody's kind of scrambling to figure it out, I think. And so the state of music in Kansas City, I think, is amazing. But I think, man, people need to wake up in this area and realize how amazing this area is musically. I mean, I've traveled all over. I've been to all kinds of cities that have all kinds of big music scenes and things. And it's not comparable. Kansas City produces people and bands that push the envelope, and it's not about money, and it's not, it's just something that they got to do, and it just keeps happening and happening and happening. And so I think it's great on one hand, but then I think it's really bad on the other hand because of social media failing everyone.
Right.
The damage that labels have caused bands and distrust in how the industry works. Everything's pay to play now. All the people that own the venues are big corporations that care nothing but money. And I mean, what do they expect is going to happen? I mean, I don't understand. Eventually there's a fallout to everything you do. There's ripples to every action. There's reactions, and I'm not real sure what that looks like, but there's definitely a lot of people who are trying to figure it out, how to get involved, how to get people out, because it's hard to reach anybody without paying any money. And the more you do this, and the more people you meet that are successful, the more you realize they had somebody or something dump a bunch of money into them. It wasn't that they made it anywhere, because they didn't. They had somebody pay for it,
Right.
I mean, the day of romance of finding the right time and place and people, or to get you somewhere, is I think it's like smoke and mirrors. It's like a false dream, I think that, I mean, do I think it's possible? Yeah, I think it's possible, a very, very small chance, but you really got to put the work in, and you have to really pay attention to your relationships with people and your ecosystem that you build around yourself.
Right.
And, keeping those relationships valid and keeping them up is just important as you writing music. And, it all affects everything. So
I've always said that, being a musician is a relationship business, just like most businesses. Without relationships, what do you got? Which is,
right.
You got your
exactly
writing songs in your bedroom. That's what you got.
Right. You can write the greatest songs ever, but if everybody hates you and don't like dealing with you, then it ain't going to go nowhere.
Right.
I mean, what do you expect to happen? Yeah, it's,
It's so funny that as I've gone down the list of, my topics that I want to talk about, you hit on every single one of them, like a little bit of the next one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just flowing.
Hey, that's a good host leading me right along there,
So where I'm going with this one is there any advice you have for musicians that are starting off today that you would say, hey, here's a couple things you automatically have to do? I mean, relationships are obviously one of them, but is there something else that, that goes top your head on that?
For new artists, you just need to block out everything else, and you need to just hunker down, and you need to make some art, and you need to think of this art that you make, this music, as an asset for you to use in the future. And you have to figure out ways to do it, and use it for your advantage, depending on what genre you're in or whatever. It's not, one thing I do wish I would have known then, but when I started, is the process of recording. Recording is it's not easy to do, and it's something that you have to kind of grow into.
Yeah.
But you'll just overthink it, and and if you don't really know what's going on, you allow people around you to kind of start to tell you what you want, and they're trying to put themselves in, and it becomes this, starts to fall apart because it's not really what your vision was, or someone starts to, I know you have a good bass player, but I know this other bass player that's really good, and people will just naturally start to try to break your band up, and I don't know why people do that, but a lot of engineers do that. They'll inject themselves into you and what you're doing. And my advice is don't do that. If somebody starts doing that, tuck tail and run and go use somebody else, because I don't know how many recordings I have ruined because I have thought too highly of someone's opinions, and that just eat it apart, and my band ends up nearly breaking up multiple times, and there's all kinds of stress and chaos, and that is the anti-music. You don't want that at all. If that's happening, stop and clear yourself and then move forward. That would be my advice.
Yeah, it's important to understand, for what the role of the engineer should be versus the role of a producer. And, I'm not saying you can't use a producer. I mean, like, if you really like somebody's sound, or, some of the work they've done with other artists, and you want to use them to help you get your vision across, that's great. But you don't want somebody who's going to be contradictory to your vision. If you're thinking horn section, and they're thinking that, of adding marimba and some other stuff, that's probably not going to, work for you. But
right.
your engineer, their responsibility is to get the best recording possible of using techniques in hardware and software to get you the best possible recording of what your vision is.
Yes.
It should be no more complex than that.
Absolutely. I think you're nailing it on the head. An engineer's job in my book is, how do I capture what these guys or girls are doing the best possible way I can, and create a space for them to feel safe and creative with no hindering and altering of that creative juice, and flow. People have found that band came together by friendships. The engineer didn't come in as some kind of friend, wonderful addition to the band. No, you're not a part of the band,
Yeah.
and it's happened to me so many times, especially around here. And I've had some really, really terrible experiences, actually, recording. Terrible experiences. I can't even believe it. I still can't believe it. But, I'm not, people do what they want. I don't like talking trash on people or nothing. I try to respect everybody, and I don't know why people do it. I don't understand it. I wish I did know, but
you learn.
Yeah, recording it's tough, because sometimes especially when you're writing a song and you have an outcome and you're looking for something specific, and then it just begins to all domino effect out of control, and you can't, and then you once it's out, you can't rein it in. You can't. It's so difficult to rein it back in.
Agreed. Well, let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, and then when we get back, let's take a deep dive on Secret.
Okay? All right.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Making art, making a living. A practical guide to building a sustainable creative career. The new book by Anastasia Drake. For artists who want real income without burnout, hype, or selling out. This book shows you how to turn your creativity into a career that actually supports your life. Inside Making Art, Making a Living, you'll learn how to build confidence around money, pricing, and selling. Create systems that protect your time and energy. Market your work without feeling awkward or salesy. Develop multiple income streams that actually make sense. Navigate contracts, copyright, and professionalism. Stay focused when overwhelm hits. Build a creative career that fits your real life, not just the highlight reel. This isn't theory. It's real-world guidance for artists who want something sustainable. Get your copy today at www.anastasiadrake.com.
Okay, we're back, and let's take a listen to Secret Secret. We're going to give you a sneak peek of the video, and in the comments down below, I'll have the link to the full thing from Chris and where you can go to watch the whole thing. But we're going to take a quick little sneak peek into this video, and then we're going to take a deep dive into it. So here is Secret Secret.
Secret, secret, stay in the darkness as long as you can. Oh, well, you know it's gonna keep to keep it all here. Secret, secret, nowhere to run to. Run as fast as you can. That line, it's a wearing thin.
You better watch out, you better watch out, you better shame.
Guilt,
It's all them things that gonna make you regret.
That is an incredible track. Congratulations on that. And then, you know, when I saw the video, I'm like thinking to myself, you know, stylistically, I'm in love with this. You know, I like a lot of, you know, like I have my own thing that I'll do, but I really love seeing, especially, you know, with people like this, a simplistic yet powerful, but stylistically so intriguing, you know, visual to go along with the music. So
Yeah.
let's start by the inception of the song. Where'd the idea come from, and kind of what's the backstory on how this came about?
So Secret Secret, what is it about? It's about so when I wrote it, someone that was very close to me was going through some really, really horrible manipulation by QAnon. I don't know if you know about them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. It got really bad. It got like threats. I mean, they were threatening everybody. I mean, it completely ruined, you know, it ruins everyone. And within this manipulation that they were going through, they kept speaking about this shadow man that was like hunting them down. Right. And it made them feel this shame and guilt, you know, because it just pumps you full of lies in videos, and it's like ops. It's like a psyop thing. It's like literal manipulation. So, you know, this song came out of observing this, you know, experience, this person that was close to me going through this experience, and my own experience on the outside of it and looking and watching it. But also on top of that, it's not necessarily about that too. It's also about, you know, a decision that you make, you know, that puts you and gives you that shame and that guilt that you have to deal with. And it's something that you have to deal with. Again, there's a reaction for every action, like depending on, you know, whatever you're doing is going to affect you somehow, you know, and guilt and shame can really, I mean, it can wreck people. I've seen it over the years so many times. And oftentimes it's very easily, you know, avoided. You know, so I think this song really generally just kind of is about just life in a very kind of specific way, as like mental health and mental illness, and the grief and the guilt and the shame that you feel will causes mental illness, causes all kinds of problems in your life. And when I'm writing music, I don't, I'm not always necessarily looking for something to write about. And what ends up happening is I'm experiencing all of these things, and then I have time to process it, and then all of a sudden they start popping out. And oftentimes I'm not real sure exactly what I'm trying to say, when I'm writing it or anything. And oftentimes I don't even know what the song's about until years later.
Yep.
Because I'm really writing about the future and what I'm coping with that I don't quite really understand at the time. And that's what happened with this one. I wrote this one 2 years ago in January of 2023, right after all this stuff happened. And it luckily the person had a breakthrough and was able to, come out of all of it for the most part. But yeah, so it's a song that I didn't mean to write, and I didn't really want to write it. I don't really like thinking about that. I mean, this person was very close to me, and it breaks my heart every time I hear it. And but I also know that it's powerful to talk about these things, and a lot of people don't talk about them.
Right.
And a lot of people are mixed up in like, oh, I want to write songs that make it big. Yeah, well, I think you're missing the point of music. I think you're, fundamentally, what is it really about? Why do really people buy these things? Why do they? Well, because it's medicine for them,
Yep.
And yeah, so that's pretty much Secret in a nutshell.
Well, I gotta tell you, the first time I heard it, at least up until that, the first, when it got to the chorus, the first thing that popped in my mind, because this is the beautiful thing about music is, a lot of times you'll get somebody will interpret it, completely different than what your original intent might have been,
of course,
or what the song is about. And I love that. I've had people, tell me, hey, you wrote this about. Well, actually, no, it's not really about any of that, but
right.
I appreciate that you get that out of that, and if it's, if it helps you and if it's, speaks to you that way, then, more power to you.
Right.
The first thing that is so weird is the first thing that popped in my head was my mom and dad. And the reason why is because, I was there for both of their last breath.
Yeah.
And they took to their grave, both of them took to their grave the fact that I was adopted and I'm half Mexican, now I can't look at me and not see it, but at the time, I had no clue.
Right.
And so I kept, it put a little smile on my face, I think it's secret. Yeah.
Yes.
You both had a secret that you just refused to, let me know about.
Right. Families do that. And that's one thing that I didn't talk about. Secret definitely is about family secrets, these secrets that are kept generationally that literally haunt families, haunt them. They kill people. Secrets kill people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand the generational, pull of feeling the need to hide absolutely everything, Right. I mean, I experienced that too. And I would say you hit it right on the head, because that is also a big part of what that song is about. Absolutely.
Cool.
I have tons of secrets in my family that I am still learning that have haunted family members for years and years. And it is the most tragic, terrible things. And, and what do? You let it hunt you down, or, it's tough. I don't know. It's, family secrets they're not good, people. Wake up. Stop making family secrets. Stop doing it. You'll feel much better.
Yes, sirree. What I'm always intrigued, with my fellow musicians about the process that you follow. Are you you write the music first and then you write the lyrics? Are you a lyrics first person? Because I am absolutely have to write the music first before any lyrics. The lyrics kind of just appear after the music is complete.
Right.
I don't always know what it's going to be about until after it's done. And like you said, I may not understand what the song is even about until 2 to 3 years down the road.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, hell, that was about that. Oh, wow.
I was writing about myself, right? Like I did.
Exactly.
I had no idea. I thought it was about somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It comes to me in different ways. I try to keep myself and allow myself time to be silent and quiet and I try not to control. I'm trying not to force a lot of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, I would say the way I get songs the most is probably I write a riff and then I'll immediately think of something that riff reminds me of, like an emotion or something like that, right? And then oftentimes that emotion will then lead to an idea, but I'll never write down the idea. And oftentimes what I'll do is I'll just start to scat the words and the vocal, right? I'll just start scatting, this melody around what I'm playing, and I'll kind of figure out where the vowel placement it goes. But my words are really jumbled up and they don't really make sense sometimes. And then sometimes I'll go back and I'll replace words and fix some things and stuff. But sometimes that just ends up being what it is that I wrote, that ends up being the song. I hardly ever write lyrics completely and then a song. That doesn't really happen usually. I'd always will start off with some kind of a riff that makes me feel something and then pushes me into thoughts,
Right.
There's a B-side to the song Secret Secret. It's a song called The Harm You Do.
Mm-hmm.
And that song in particular, I wrote this riff and I sat down and I really liked the riff and I was like, oh, I'm gonna write a song. And I just fretted over it and I couldn't figure out anything and nothing was making sense. And I just thought, why do I have writer's block? I have like a million things to say. There are so many things going on in this world that upset me or emotions that I'm feeling. Like, why am I'm not choosing to not write here, And I just closed my eyes and I just started writing down random words. Just absolutely random. I tried to make no sense at all. Anything that came to my mind, I just wrote it down. And that ended up being the whole song. I never changed it or anything. So I think keeping yourself open to finding songs in ways you don't know you can is important too. Right? Because like in parts of my life, I'd kind of get stuck on a way I do things. And oftentimes to break out of that writer's block, I have to shift everything and go outside of my box. And I have to stop, thinking like I know what I'm doing, and I have to get back to, I don't know what I'm doing. And then there's the songs, So that's how it worked for me anyway.
Cool. Well, you just hit on the what was the next piece, which was how do you deal with roadblocks? So,
yeah. See,
you got it there.
So that's how I do it. Hey, and another tip, for me, that's helped me a lot to get yourself out of the box is who in the world claimed that there's a standard tuning. There are millions of tunings.
Yes.
You do not have to write music in standard. That is the craziest statement, that music is this, like, regulated thing in this certain tuning on a guitar. And, that's bonkers. If you're having trouble writing, just go to a random open tuning and just start playing around. Next thing you know, all kinds of melodies will begin to pop out, and you'll start going, oh, wow, I've never done anything like that before, because you don't know what you're doing. You're figuring it out again. You're bringing yourself back to that space where you don't know what's going on. And I feel like that space is extremely important to creativity and songwriting.
Yeah, I remember at the height of the Wall Talkers, I would usually I'd have a couple of guitars that I would tune for the show, but at any given time, I'd have to switch between standard to open C to open D to open E.
Right. Yeah. Now I'm not saying there's issues with that, because that happens. Now I have to have multiple guitars, or or I tune a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's hard, but what am I doing it for? I'm trying to write music, so
Yep.
For me that works, and it's worth the trouble. I know a lot of people don't like doing that, switching guitars and doing all this thing, and I understand the logistics of that, but I've just gotten so much out of it that doing that I feel like it's worth the trouble live, having multiple guitars and tunings and things.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you know when, specifically with this track, how'd you know when it was complete? How'd you know when you were done?
Yeah. So I pretty much wrote the tune without the bridge. There's a bridge in there. And really it's only 2 verses.
Yeah.
And the chorus, of course. And then, so I wrote the 2 verses and the choruses, and I had it all kind of laid out. It all happened pretty quick. And then I added a bridge in there. And that's another thing too. Like, oftentimes I try not to, I don't want to really know where the song is going to go. I want to know basically the basic idea. And then I want to pull together the right people to work with me. On this specific track, I had Matt Darvin Davis with the MGDs and Supermassive Black Holes, and all. He's in a bunch of other bands too, on drums and maracas and tambourine and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had Dane Talley on guitar and piano, and then my wife Havila on vocals, and then Danny McGaw recorded and really helped kind of produce the whole thing together, get it all together. But when I went in there, the bridge was only 4 measures. And then in live, we did it one time and we thought, man, that's way too short. So we just added another measure on that, and it totally helped the song out. So, I think it never really was done until it was done, like until we recorded it. And I kind of feel that way with songs. I think they're kind of alive, or they are alive, I think, and they move and breathe and do things. And you have to make the right decisions, I think, and you have to protect them, I believe, and then once they're done, that's it. They're not yours anymore. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only control I have up until that moment, and then they're done, and then they're released, and they're someone else's, so that's the only yeah, anyways.
That was said perfectly, and I couldn't agree more with how you said that. Is just, yeah, after it's out there, man, it's
right.
It's not yours.
It's out. Nope.
It belongs.
Oftentimes, I don't listen to music. I don't listen to my music ever, and I'll put songs out, and then once they're out, I'll listen to them a bunch in the recording process up until the end, and then once it gets to the end and it goes out, I move on. and I use my, wavelength, my brain waves for other things. I try not to, like, once it's released, I let it go. It's kind of like it's like I was saying earlier, where it's your emotions and your thoughts and trauma and all kinds of things all in one little, song, and then you let it go. And I just let it go and I let it be. And that's really healing for me, and then I move on to the next thing. And oftentimes I get jumbled up so much with so many songs for different bands and things that I can't move on. And I can't sit down and write, even though I really want to. And I have stuff going on in my life I'm trying to deal with and cope with, but I'll get stuck because I'll have all these songs that I need to record. And if I don't record them, I can't really let them go. It's like I have this, I keep going back to this, like they haunt me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where you're like, I really need to put that song out, but I can't record it right now. I don't have the money. I don't have the right resources yet. It's not the right time,
Right.
and then, so I try not to get too backed up, but it happens a lot because it really does stifle at all of my creativity. If I have too many projects that I'm trying to record and release, and I have to finish them in order to move on, because I'm only I only have this much space to deal with, with things. So yeah.
Which you answered a lot of the last part of this, which is, how does your relationship with your songs change over time? Once they're out there, and you phrased it perfectly, which is exactly my sentiment, which is, I've always treated them like they're children. Once they're out there, you're on your own.
You gotta let them grow.
Go be free. Go do whatever you're going to be. And it sounds like a similar take on it.
It's tricky too, because you've got marketing that you have to really think about, and in today's world, everything is set up with algorithms and things, and you're working this game that they have created, basically, right? On purpose. They created this game on purpose to make it hard for you to do.
Yeah.
To get out there. And you have to follow all these algorithmic rules that they create. And that's really taxing and really terrible, to have to deal with sometimes. But you have to do it, and you have to have some kind of marketing or something behind it. If you just put your music out,
nobody will hear it.
Nobody's going to hear it. And what is the point? Again, music is medicine, and you want people to hear your song. So you got to get out there and you got to push it and you got to make marketing. So sometimes songs or albums, do have quite the relationship. I have quite the relationship with them after I put them out because of marketing, because you're trying to, and I'm getting better at that, but I also am getting older and jaded. And I've been doing it now for a long time. And is it really worth all the trouble? I don't know. I still am trying to figure that out. Like trying to market and push and play the game and push the algorithms and try to get, that whole race is not, that game ain't for me. I don't like it. And I think it suppresses artists and good songs. And it allows only songs that are pushed by record labels and people that are trying to make money. I mean, it's money. It's like a product. It's like an apple. It's like a banana. It's like anything. They're just moving all these songs in and out of everybody's lives, and they're trying to capitalize as much money. And that's just totally missing the point and shameful as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And I grew up at a time where all the musicians were singing about all these things, about don't take the money and don't, music is medicine and you get all these things, and then all these musicians are all taking the money. All these famous musicians.
Yeah.
Did they do anything? No, the record companies are still screwing everybody. But everybody sang about it, but nothing ever changed, you know, and now it's worse than ever. And now you got music, you know, Spotify's spending all their money on, they're like a defense, spending their money on like drones and stuff like that, war machines and things. I mean, it's extremely tragic what's happening in this world right now, especially with music. And it breaks my heart, but what can you do?
Well, everything, you know, the pendulum at some point has to swing back towards, you know, art forms and in the purity of it, and, you know, just the respect for, you know, the intimacy of seeing live music and you know, having a relationship with an artist that isn't so corporatized, you know. It's just, it's a little weird.
Well, it also too, I think people are trained because of corporate radio and TV and things, and those companies pushing this narrative that it's not real unless you're on the radio. Like, I mean, you know, for an example, my dad is not a music lover, right? And I've been showing him my music and trying to get some kind of validation from him for years, and I just have never got it. I don't know why I want it. It wouldn't even matter if I got it, really. You know, what would it really do for me? I don't know. But, you know, his whole response is, well, is it on the radio? No, it's not on the radio. It's not on 101 The Fox. No, it's not. Okay, well, all right. Okay. It must not be. It must not be good, you know, or, you know, and that's everyone's sentiment. If it's not on this corporate machine, it's not real. When did that happen? How did that flip? Like, why? It should be more real if it's not on the radio, not less real, you know. And I don't know, it really bugs me, and it makes it really difficult for musicians and local artists to navigate, you know, this very created, cultivated system that doesn't really work for any of us, you know.
Right on. Well, Chris, you know, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out to sit down with me and have this conversation. You know, I obviously, you know, I'm a huge fan of your work, and I can't say enough about people. If you want to check out more, tell everybody where they should go to hear your stuff and to learn more about you.
So there is music. Freight Train Rabbit Killer stuff is everywhere. Amazon, Apple. It is still on Spotify right now, but we're talking about getting it off Spotify. Gas Can has a Bandcamp. Freight Train Rabbit Killer's on Bandcamp. My solo stuff is on Amazon, Spotify, Apple Music, all the things. I mean, you can find things. Copper Threading only has one song out on streaming platforms, but we're working on a record right now, or an EP, and it's recorded. We're just finishing up some mixing, so it's coming down the pipeline. But I'm trying to kind of figuring this all out, you know, because it's hard to, it's like, again, it's that game that they're making us all play. And I'm like at this point where I don't want to play their game no more. And I'm trying to figure out new ways to do things. But so, yeah, just normal streaming stuff. I'm not on social media. I don't like social media. I think that's failing everyone. Yeah. You know, I know it's hard being a musician and then not wanting to play the game, but I'm finding myself more and more, I don't see the worth in the game anymore. There is no worth. They've ruined it, you know? So, honestly, I would like to just go straight to my own website and emails and texting and do no social media at all. And, you know, if you're into, you know, wanting to follow me that way, you know, send your email, and you can put my email in the link.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say reach out to me there, and I can send you music and everything from there. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, give Havilah and fam my love, and
I will.
I can't appreciate you enough. And thanks again. And we'll be seeing you around.
Hey, and stay inside the creative mind.
Thanks, brother.
Yep.